The champions march on. The first team to 4 points in IPL 2019. CSK are continuing this year's IPL much like they finished the one last year. They managed to lose a toss, have been put to chase and eventually doing well first half to keep Delhi Capitals to just 147 for 6. That after at one stage when Rishabh Pant was going, you thought they were due for a lot more. It was 2 for 120 at the end of the 15th over, and then in the last 5 overs they managed just the 27 runs that they did. So it's quite academic, although MS Dhoni and Kedar Jadhav made it a little interesting, as did Kagishwar Rabada, but this game looked like it was CSK all the way on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day T20, Deep Das Gupta and Brad Hodge. That went on a bit longer than we expected, but CSK were always in control one day.
Yeah, I mean, they were.
Yeah.
I think they should have got it done in about the 15th over, the way they were going, but no, the theatre was good, and then it got a little bit tricky there in the last over with Rabada bowling a pretty sensational last over.
Yeah, sometimes it's just fun to have it go to the end and then see MS Dhoni hit the boundary just, to keep that legend and that story burning.
Yeah, but the tricky part was he wasn't on strike the last over.
Yeah.
Maybe another wicket there and could have been a different case. But yeah, they were in control right through this game. The first 6 overs was important. That start from Shane Watson kind of set it up nicely.
In many ways, it's a very CSK sort of win, right? You can't remember an individual exceptional performance. Everyone's just done their bit and they've taken the points home.
And I think that's a total which they're very comfortable in chasing too. I mean, that's set up nicely for them. I thought particularly Suresh Raina played a handy knock there too with number 3 that kept that momentum going with Shane Watson. So, yeah, I mean, they'll take a lot out of it. A few things to learn from the Delhi Capitals, I think, out of that game after a good performance in Mumbai. I think they were a fraction off the pace this one. But all in all, it was a pretty comfortable victory, I think, for CSK. I think they had it in control most of the day.
Right, let's review this game and let's start with a few quick ratings and get that out of the way so you can have a quick summary of what's happened and how Deep and Brad rated. Dhawan's half century, 51 of 47. We thought we might want to look at both innings and pass final judgment. Deep, out of 10, how much do you give Dhawan's rating?
I'd say a 5 or a 6. 5, 6, yeah.
Brad?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, thought he should have gone a bit quicker. What about Dwayne Bravo's spell? Quite significant given he got Pant and Ingram in quick succession.
Yeah, I mean, given the conditions and everything else, I think he did well around, I'd say, 7.
7, all right.
Yeah, 6.
Okay, what about Shane Watson's innings? It actually was important that he went as hard as he did. Haji?
Yeah, pretty good. I think around 8, actually.
I'd go with that 8 as well, yeah.
All right, what about Amit Mishra's spell? Mishra on his comeback, not playing the first game and then getting the wicket of Shane Watson and seemed to actually do a job from one end. Deep, Amit Mishra?
I'll give him a 6.5 maybe, because on this surface you would expect him to bowl a little better than that. I mean, the kind of experience and pedigree that he has, would have expected him to bowl, because obviously he's picked up the wickets. He's also gone for 35 in his 4.
Haji?
Yeah, maybe 7.
Okay, 6.5 and 7 for Amit Mishra. Watson's innings and Dwayne Bravo's ratings are all coming up in just a bit. MS Dhoni's knock, finally. See, he's done the job again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's difficult to rate. I mean, when he came into bat, it was very comfortable. That's how he plays. I mean, so it's difficult to rate him. I mean, how are you going to take anything away or put anything extra in there?
I don't know. I'm just asking the questions. You just give me an answer.
8 out of 10?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, maybe he should have finished it. If he had finished it 5 overs, he would have got 10 out of 10.
I think it was a 6 actually. I think he put a little bit too much pressure from the spinners.
All right. So Dhoni gets an 8 and a 6 from Deep and Brad respectively. Let's move on to our match day match points. Let's actually review this game bit by bit and focus on perhaps the learnings for Delhi Capitals as well as what CSK can take from this. Let's start with the Shane Watson knock. And as things turned out, I'm not saying that this would have been how Kedar Jadhav and MS Dhoni would have played anyway. But given that maybe there's a little, that they took some time, and given the comments from Kedar Jadhav that it was apparently a bit slow, this pitch, that Watson and Raina innings, that little partnership, was pretty much settling the game then and there, Haji.
Yeah, I mean, it looked a typical Delhi wicket. I mean, the pitch had played, you'd assume that's the way it's going to play. I mean, past score's 160, so I think if Delhi Capitals had got there, then it would have made a fraction more challenging. And you've always got to maximise the new ball, and I thought Watson did that particularly well. Yeah. I mean, if he come up against the fired up Rabada as well, negated that. got a couple of boundaries off his last two, but yeah, he looked pretty comfortable with the crease. Hit some big bombs as well, so particularly impressive.
I mean, they were 98 when Raina's wicket fell in the second ball of the 11th over. Essentially tells you that they were going fine. So whatever the slowness was, it didn't seem to affect Raina and Watson.
No, absolutely not. And especially the new ball, obviously that's the best time to bat. And in the power play, they got 58. I mean, that was so important in the using the power play. Because after that, when the spinner came in, obviously it slowed down a bit. I mean, the ball was holding on, it was turning a bit. So it was always going to be more difficult once the spinner came on. So they did the hard work in the first 6.
And in contrast, if you look at that sort of phase after the power play up to the 10th overs, when Shikhar Dhawan and Shreyas Iyer had sort of choked that Delhi innings.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a poor partnership, really. I thought, not sure Shreyas actually played well, and Shikhar didn't help him out too much easy. But you could see what they were trying to do. They were trying to build a platform and then launch at the end. But yeah, I think they've misread what they should have got on the conditions at the back end. There was probably only one man that could do it, and that was Rishabh, and he got a quick fire 25.
So take me through the dynamic of this Delhi team now. The kind of team that they've picked today, are they worried that their batting's a little short? If Pant doesn't fire, you don't want to give him too much time perhaps? Or is it more about these guys going for it even if this is the team that they go?
No, but I think it needs some addressing. I think that, I think Ricky will sit down there and say, look, we cannot leave it for this guy to do too much. What we want to do is create a nice little cake, and this guy's the icing on the top. So we can't let him be the cake and the icing in both parts.
We'll talk about Shikhar in detail, but would you want to perhaps, is there any personnel change you'd see, or would you like to see Shreyas?
I think it would be a little different as soon as Chris Morris comes in. Because with this batting lineup, with someone like Tewatia batting at, I think, 7, it becomes Keemo Paul batted at number 7. So that's a little thin when you look at
Keemo came in at 6 today, Akshar at 7th, Tewatia at 8.
So that that looks a little thin there.
Yeah, we forget even Rabana bats 9. So somewhere I'm trying to think of whether they could have, were they overcautious?
But you know what, when you have Chris Morris, who's a proper batsman, you might see Shreyas playing a little differently. You might see maybe Shikhar might play a little differently, depending who's still out there. So you have a little more confidence. I mean, I know Rabada can bat, Tewatia can bat, Akshar can bat, but you wouldn't want to depend on them.
Those guys. Right, fair enough. We'll have that Shikhar Dhawan chat in more detail in just a bit. But let's talk about Delhi's potential team selection errors that we'd see if Hodgie and Deep agree. And they have been saying that Sandeep Lamichhane should have found a place in this team. And it's not like the overseas contingent was exhausted. In fact, they took a unique call to go in with just 3 overseas players today. It looked like the Mishra inclusion was a good one. But again, does this whole balance of the team play into the fact when you have to take a call for Lamichhane? And regardless, is that a bad call for you now?
Well, I think the balance was out because they actually didn't make that call. I thought that Lamichhane was a real match winner, and they left him out for someone who's a bit of a bits and pieces player. To me, it didn't quite make sense. I think that if you had had Mishra and Sandeep in there, then that would have been a real task for the batters. But as it stood, really only had to negate Mishra. I mean, Axel was okay when he came back, but I think the batters actually let him dictate terms. So for me, apart from Rabada, it lacked a little bit of potency.
Yeah, Mishra is still a slightly slower leg spin as far as in the air goes. Lamichhane, what sort of threat could he have posed on this pitch now that you've seen
this surface will turn irrespective of what speed you're bowling at. If someone like Jadeja could turn the ball, I can assure you anyone can turn the ball on this surface. And bowling at 90-95 clicks, and that's what Lamichhane does. It's flatter in the air, it's quicker in the air, and once you start turning the ball at that pace, it's a nightmare for the batsman.
We thought it's a sure shot that Lamichhane would actually start the season for Delhi, and maybe you could understand him not playing in Mumbai. But is this the recent form of coming into the IPL, good big bash, good PSL? Does every team value that, or do they start looking at the IPL in isolation?
No, it's a surprise to me. I really can't see any logic or reasoning as to why he's not there. I mean, the kid went to Australia, he did well. He went to spin-friendly conditions in the PSL and's done well. So, he's created problems before as well when he played for Delhi. So I'm just not sure what the management there are not seeing. Maybe he's injured. We don't know.
Yeah. Apart from that
assuming
injury
he's
thing,
fit and
assuming that
assuming
he's fit, maybe they're looking at Tewatia as a batsman also. I mean, what he can contribute. But then my point is, if you have someone like Rabada at 9, I think Rabada can maybe do 80% of the job with the bat, what Tewatia can do.
Yeah,
So if that's the case-
statistically, a number 8 only faces
Yeah.
4 balls a game. So there's no point.
Is this a slightly defensive approach, slightly safer, too safe for Delhi's own good?
I think so. That's why I'm saying as soon as Chris Morris comes back and he bats at number 6, I think that kind of strengthens them on paper and mentally as well. Psychologically, I think they'll start feeling much better about their batting lineup.
Sometimes you also pick both players for that opposition,
Yeah.
and you know when you've got MS Dhoni in the middle, who has his questions against spin, against left, against wrist spin, the type of bowler that Lamicharne is would have tested Dhoni.
Oh, and Watson as well.
And Watson?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty there that he would have tested. I'm not sure. I mean, for me, this guy's a gun player. So you've got to get your match winners into the IPL. That's what it's all about.
Right.
And I think they've missed an opportunity there.
Okay, still early days in the IPL. Let's see if Delhi makes some changes before the next one. They have Chris Morris available, so that's a huge boost. He has joined the team. So we'll see now what the combination is like when they get down to their next match. Let's go to our next match day match point, and the Chennai bowlers keep it tight in the death, as I pointed out, at the fall of the wicket of Rishabh Pant. After that, it started going a bit pear-shaped for Delhi. It was 120 for 2 in the 16th over, and then in the last 5, it really got dry for Delhi. That's what happened in the death. 4 for 29 in the last 5 overs. That's the exact opposite of what happened at the Wankhede the other night. They were actually going okay. Pant had played that little breezy 25 of 13, Haji. And then towards the end, again, they almost played that cautious Tewatia and Kimo Paul because they thought they might need some firepower in the batting. And it didn't seem to work at all.
No, it didn't. And look, back-to-back wickets usually doesn't help. You know, you lost 2 gun players in the 1 over, Colin Ingram and Rishabh Pant, who was on fire. But then, yeah, we didn't see much. It's a bit of a concern. I haven't seen a lot from Akshar Patel in recent form to be able to get the job done down there. So that may be why they've tried to stretch that batting lineup out a little bit until Morris gets there, of course, and gets selected. But no, it wasn't so much troubling bowling. There was a few issues with the thought processes, but all in all, it's an area which we thought would be a concern for CSK and actually delivered in spades.
But then actually they weren't really tested.
Yeah.
I mean they were 122 for 4 when Colin Ingram got out in the 16th over,
Yes.
right? And there weren't enough firepower left in Delhi batting to actually test CSK death.
What about the point he makes on Akshar Patel, who's now a seasoned, experienced IPL campaigner? Would you expect more from him?
Listen, you obviously do because he
Yeah.
has that talent, but he hasn't delivered. He's not a newcomer anymore. He's not a youngster anymore. He's been around for at least 4-5 years now. So, I mean, now you kind of have an idea what you're going to get. Don't go by potential anymore. I mean, it's about time that you go by performances.
Kimo Paul coming in at number 6 ahead of Akshar and Tewatia. It says something as well.
It says that they're probably not quite good enough to bat number 6. So maybe they needed to have a look at a Vihari or someone with a little bit better technique or a little bit better thought clarity. It's hard for an international player to come into an environment as well and make an impact, probably knowing that Chris Morris will come back in. But
what's your take on a lot of T20 sides, not just IPL, other sides as well, picking up too many bits and pieces? You know, this guy can bat a bit, this guy can bowl a bit. I mean, I can understand you need all-rounders, but don't you think at times franchises all over the world overdo it?
Well, it's the flavour of the month, isn't it? These all-rounders, you know. So everyone thinks that you can have an impact in the game, 3-dimensional players, but you actually have to be pretty good 3-dimensional player. You can't be an average 3-dimensional player.
What it also did was we had worries or concerns about Chennai's death bowling. This would give them a huge amount of satisfaction. It's almost like they didn't have to do anything exceptional, but still, this is a good result. This makes them feel good about that death bowling.
Absolutely. It was. I mean, it was the spinners in the first game. Now the seamers have come into the picture as well. They've got their top order firing. I mean, in the first 2 games, they've got almost everyone performing now. All 11 of them have contributed in the wins.
Okay, let's move forward and talk a little bit about the Shikhar Dhawan innings now. And looking back at it, could he have possibly affected the way people around him batted? Shreyas Iyer also did struggle. Rishabh Pant went pretty early and decided that he has to take it on. But let's just look at how Shikhar Dhawan goes about his innings to maybe have a more detailed chat on this. Now, this is his innings builder. Starts at 70 in his first 10, and 110, then 115. Now, he went for the period that he was playing up from 30 to 50. Let's just have some thoughts on that. Yes, Deep.
Yeah, we're talking about in this year's IPL.
Yeah, this year's IPL.
So,
yeah.
so basically, we are talking
We're
about
looking at the two
innings.
games now. We're looking at Mumbai and we're looking
Yeah.
at this one.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing here is, if that's the role that he's got in this setup, which is try and play till the 12th, 13th over, he can't do it at 110. He
Yeah.
still needs to go at 120. Maybe what Haji mentioned before. You give it a go in the first 6. If you're still around till that the 5th over, then kind of slow it down and then try and stay there till the 16th, 17th. But you've got to give it a go in the first 6.
What you telling Shikhar Dhawan? What is your role in this team, Shikhar?
this-
Because this is how he's played for Sunrisers.
Yeah. Well, I'd be instructing to get out there and smack it. We don't need someone to control innings. We got guys like Shreyas Iyer. They'll adapt to conditions they have to. You got to maximise the new ball in the IPL. There's too many good players at the top who can go out there like CSK did and put on 60 without any trouble at all. So, you're actually 15 runs behind to try and catch up. So,
Yeah.
statistically, if you lose the power play by 6 runs or more, you're going to lose the game.
And there are times when we look at players and we wonder if they have the game to do that. Shikhar Dhawan has the game. Are you just
Yeah.
seeing a lack of intent?
Well, he's got the game. So the problem is the different franchise as well. So they haven't got a Rashid Khan, they haven't got a Booby there. They've got different artillery. But they knew that when he was at SRH, that at 150, they would probably win down there. But here, different kettle of fish. They need to up the ante a little bit.
He doesn't have David Warner at the other end too. Sometimes that makes a big difference.
No, but Prithvi Shaw was pretty good. I
Yeah.
mean, he struck it at
Yeah,
150.
but Warner used to bat, 10, 12 overs with him.
Yeah.
And therefore the pressure was almost
And if
so
you
much.
look at the way he bats for India, I mean, he goes hard really at the top, but because Rohit takes his own time.
Yeah, that's
So,
a good point.
I mean, that's exactly what he needs to do here as well. I mean, forget what his role is or how the team is. But I just have a feeling when Chris Moyes comes back, it just mentally secures them a bit more as far as the batting is concerned. Might see a change in the attitude once he's back, I guess.
Okay, right. Let's not unnecessarily consume balls like Shikhar Dhawan. Let's move on to our next point. And that's the Fab Four. And see who's won between Brad Hodge and Deepdas Gupta. It's been a rather unspectacular game in some ways. But let's see if the Fab Fours have been any better for these two gentlemen. Deep's got 112 points. Shane Watson turned out to be a pretty decent pick. Imran Tahir with the 1 wicket of Shreyas Iyer. Iyer himself with 28 points. And Rabada doesn't get him.
How could Rabada get not a point when
Exactly, he was the
That's
most
amazing.
impressive out there.
I think it's been 3 days now where we've had Bumrah without a point, not
Amazing.
Rashid, Sunil Narayan without a point, and now we've got Rabada without a point.
Amazing.
But he looked the best out there. I mean, I just loved him.
I wish we gave points for that. Yeah. Brad Hodge, how's he done? Has he gone past 112 on a day where he's already beaten Deepdas Gupta in face-off our quiz? It's just Brad Hodge's day today. It's a beautiful
So
day.
Shikhar gets him 71.
Yeah, well
Yeah.
done. Shikhar Dhawan for all the slamming that
I
Hodge
knew he'd
was
get me
going on
50.
about.
It was just how many balls, so I was confident he'd get me there.
Right.
I'm wrapped with that. I never thought I was a chance backing most of those Delhi players, but you never know.
You're doing a fine job on this, Haji. You've got
But
2
you
more
know what the
weeks
funny
and-
part is? He's picked all 4 Delhi boys.
Yeah.
And CSK goes on to win it.
Yeah, and he's managed to win this as well. So that's just how it rolls sometimes. Gentlemen, always a pleasure. Thank you, Deepdas Gupta and Brad Hodge. Get their thoughts before the start of tomorrow's game as well between KKR and Kings 11. Make sure you join us for that, 7:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And of course, if you have been playing our quiz alongside Deep and Brad, that's 6 p.m. for Face Off. Deep is already saying no. He's embarrassed by his performance today. And it saw Brad Hodge get a rather sumptuous hamper to his name. We'll be back again tomorrow. A story from tonight is a good one for Chennai Super Kings, who are marching along as the first team to 4 points this IPL.